So people have a lot of questions and they're typing them into their browsers or phones, but when there's a data deficit, the information that's returned to them isn't from credible sources. So this happens when there's something new or niche or a technically complicated issue occurs. We find that people have legitimate questions because it's new and there's not much information about something that's come up. For example, think about something scientific. But that's when malicious actors who want to really exploit a situation can title their videos exactly using the words in people's questions, so that when the audiences do their search, they type that in. These are the videos that are the ones that are returned. And then these messages then get picked up and they get spread throughout other platforms and in other messages on closed chat apps. So these answers in turn really sort of change the narrative, and that's what sticks in people's minds. So we can actually see how these data deficits are coming up if we know how to look for them, and for that we look into Google Trends. And once you've heard some information or misinformation, it's really hard to get that out of your mind. It sticks. So as a journalist or a fact checker, you really want to get ahead of what the questions are that people are typing in and what they want to know. So we get the quality information out there first. We help to fill these voids where the data deficits form, and we create situations where, or those are the voids that really will create a situation where bad actors can take advantage, of course. So some practical steps include warning people that misinformation is coming, and this helps to protect them from it. Latest research actually supports this, so that warning people what kind of hoaxes or false information might be coming actually helps them to spot it and to build trust as your audience is really a part of the process with you. So for example, if there's a big story, advertise beforehand that you're going to be collecting examples. Say, this is what I've seen in the past that might crop up again. Here's how you can get in touch with us if you've got examples that you've spotted. So you're really relating to your audience that way. But you really need to be proactive. As I've mentioned before, you look for the questions that people are asking. We use Boolean search queries where we search for anything that's phrased as a question on social media using keywords. This really helps you to zone in on what possible questions are being asked and the search queries that people are using. You really need to know where people are when they're talking as well. And there's a way to find different language communities in, say, Facebook groups. You can go to site:/facebook.com and then put in inverted commas, double inverted commas, the terms that you think you're looking for. So, for example, if we were to type in New Jersey and informatio and in brackets COVID-19 or coronavirus or vaccine, you'll see that some of the search terms there are in English and some are in Spanish, because that's how people are talking in those communities, say in Latin American communities. We find that tip lines are super helpful as well. So our networks will help us to know what messages are circulating on closed chat apps in their communities. We think about engaging with audiences on social media. We don't just expect them to read our, say, 800-word debunks and the reports that we put up on our website. So that's some advice for other fact checkers to do the same thing as well. And just engage with them through the process and through other means of social media as well. This really brings it all together. So they're not necessarily the same thing. You've got checking facts, which is about appealing to a source's credibility. This is really effective for people who are already interested in looking at fact checks or looking at journalistic work and are open to hearing from different experts that you might bring. However, that approach doesn't necessarily work for people who might be a little bit hesitant, and this is really what we talk about. It's an exercise in building trust with them. So it's about those people who might have family members or friends that aren't confident about, say, an issue like vaccines. And this is really an exercise in building trust with them. It's not about throwing facts and information at them, because sometimes that can just put people off or just be, a bit confronting. It's really about addressing people's concerns without ridiculing them. Say, hey, yeah, I understand your concerns there, and I know you're just trying to care for your community. So you're really affirming and developing their critical thinking throughout the process. So what we do is we try to really show that something is false by taking them through how we found this out. So finding trusted sources in their community that really speak to their lived experience. It's really important to think of different, not just different countries, but different regions and communities and what they think is an influencer for them. So it might be a community leader, a librarian, a neighbour who really knows what's going on in the community or village, or it could of course be something bigger like singers and sports people, really famous people like that, not just politicians. So when you're answering questions, you're actually having a conversation more with them, with your audience, rather than lecturing them, because we just find that sometimes just lecturing is not going to work. It puts up a little bit of a wall. So we're really thinking a little bit differently about how we're imparting this information and taking people through it, rather than just going, here's the facts, making them deal with it that way.